All right. We're live now. Chris, we gonna do the stupid joke we do every time?
We are live.
Oh man. Yeah, we've been doing this for quite a while now, and like I noticed that I say that every time, whether I try to or not. So anyway, we'll give some people some time to jump in here, and then we'll get into the introduction.
I love that. I love that mom's sending you texts just to make sure you're prepped and you know the deal.
I was going to say this too. I remember the very specific occasion where I went out to their high school and watched him and Logan play, and I was waiting down on the field to talk to Mazi, and he must have had 40 people from his family come down on the field. I was just standing there, and he's like, "I got you. I'll get you in a minute." And it was like, I don't know, his moms and uncles and cousins and all sorts of people. So I've known about the family connection for a while. So I'm not surprised. All right, here we go. Welcome everybody to Wolverine Digest live stream. We are honored, excited, happy to have Mazi Smith joining us, Michigan defensive tackle. We were talking to him before we started the live stream. Born in Southeast Michigan, around Detroit, Southfield, moved to Grand Rapids, homegrown kid, local product, and from the sounds of it, supposed to have a big year. We're going to talk to him about that here in just a minute. Excited to have you on, Mazi. So thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you.
Well, we were talking before we started going live. I've known you, I think, since you were in about 11th grade, back when you were in high school at East Kentwood, and big-time recruit. A lot of schools wanted you. Got to Michigan, and, so far we're waiting to see. We're waiting to see what Mazi can truly be. So I want to just give you a second to talk about these first 2 years at Michigan, kind of what that's been like and what your journey is to, entering your third season.
Yeah. My freshman year, I came in kind of overweight. I came in 340 pounds, and I had to get that off of me, especially for Coach Brown's defense. Faster, had to be faster, had to be lighter. And, did that. And just once I got down to 295, just started trying to get better at football. Because, when I came in, everybody had things to fix, and I still got plenty of stuff to fix. But it's just like getting acclimated to college ball. Freshman year is probably the hardest year for anybody, if you ask anybody. And then last year, saw the field a little bit more, but just keep working.
And obviously last year was a weird year. I mean, the COVID stuff, you don't know if you're going to play, might not be practicing like you normally would. Was that, I mean, how weird was that? I mean, you're trying to, like you said, you're trying to find your way. You're trying to learn how to play college football, and you're dealing with all that stuff too.
Kind of just had to stay focused for real. The hardest part was being home for so long, because we're in that program where we're in a certain regimen. So that was probably the hardest thing, having to work out on your own or try and find a tree to hit instead of a sled, stuff like that. So that's the type of stuff I was doing last year. But as far as it came to like the games, just trying to be the best you could be. If we're gonna play, trying to be as good as I can be, and play.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, Mazi, when I reached out to you, Brandon and I, we went down to Big Ten Media Days. And, obviously when that event happens, you're always looking for like tidbits of information and interesting things to come out. And, I don't want to speak for Brandon, but personally, I was surprised to hear your name thrown around as much as it was. And to go back to the opening, I know that you were a fairly highly rated recruit coming into Michigan. There were some high expectations here. And as Brandon had said, we're still kind of waiting to see it. But man, at Big Ten Media Days, your boys were putting your name out there, and they're saying, you gotta watch Mazi. He's ready to step into that big role. A couple of quotes here that I want to read from Coach Harbaugh. He said, "A guy like Mazi Smith has really asserted himself through spring ball and through the summer cycle. Mazi looks good. He's completely changed his body into a power pack. He's big, he's wide, he's thick, he's strong, and he retained all of his speed and athleticism," which is a pretty big compliment. And so I'm wondering, has anything changed about your preparation and the way you're getting ready for this season, or is kind of your rise to being ready to step into a critical role just a product of being in the program for so long?
Being in the program, we got a great strength staff, and we got great coaches. Everybody know what they're talking about. So it's their job to make good players. You know what I mean? And with me coming in, like I said, I was so overweight. They didn't know. They kind of didn't know that I was an athlete under that. So I kind of had to just stay focused and really lock in on my diet. Abigail, our nutritionist, helped me a whole bunch with that, and she still helped me today. But my preparation, you play a couple snaps, and you see it's right there, and it's like it make you. You don't notice until you play, but it's like, oh, I'm lifting for the game now, or I'm running for the game now, or I'm practicing. Like for a while there, practice was my games. So I was like, I'm just gonna practice as hard as I can. But now I'm practicing for the game now. You know what I mean? That's really the biggest difference.
Yeah. I heard you mention the nutrition side of things, and I don't know if it's like this at other programs. I don't cover other programs, but I see Abigail getting. I mean, she's on social media. She's putting up pictures of meals. She's putting up pictures of dudes grilling, and I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's like this for other programs, but she seems to be like so involved. And you mentioned trying to lose weight and reshape your body. How big of a deal is that? And how good is she? I mean, give her a little plug for the work that she does right now. I guess
she's worth every penny they pay her. You know what I mean? Because some of the things that I did with my body, I didn't think I would be able to do. And she did. She didn't sell me short, and we just stayed the course. And she helped me be happy because food. I'm a big guy.
Hey, you're talking my language here, so we suffer from the same affliction.
Yeah, I don't want to be missing out too much. I want to feel like I'm living. So she helped me. She helped me work in everything that I wanted to eat into my diet.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And so you mentioned the coaching staff is obviously playing a critical part in, from where you were to when you got here to where you are now. The coaching staff did go through a significant transition this past offseason. And I'm curious, you spent your first 2 years there working in a Don Brown defense. I'm wondering, what has the transition from Don Brown's defense to Mike McDonald's defense been for you individually? What type of impact has this transition had on you?
Fresh faces, get to know new people. It's always good. Coach Brown, great coach, really cared about us and had a great defense for a long time. But with the change scheme came, changed body. So like I changed my body to fit in the Coach Brown scheme. I was 295. I wasn't 295 in high school. You know what I mean? So with the change now with Coach Mike, with Mac's defense, the biggest thing is I could gain weight naturally. I could, I didn't put on no fat for real. Well, I did put on fat, but I put on a lot of muscle, and I feel different than I did when I was playing for Coach Brown. I feel like a bigger, faster, stronger. You know what I mean? Because ain't really no weight goals really.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, playing off of that a little bit, I know it's obviously been, fairly limited, and you guys got fall camp here starting on August 6th, so it's coming up pretty soon. But what is it about this new defensive scheme? Obviously, I know you don't want to give away any of the goodies or any of the details, so we're not going to do that. But, what is it about this new defensive scheme that leads you to believe that you guys are going to be more successful on that side of the ball this year?
It's a lot simpler, It's like, at least for the guys up front, and planning it. I ain't gonna get into too much, but like planning it, it just fit me a little differently,
Okay.
Fit more into it.
You're not the first person to say that. Both Josh Ross and Aiden in Indianapolis they mentioned the same thing. They mentioned the fit. And Coach Harbaugh, I mean, he's the head of the program. He gave a few secrets away. He said, before it might have been a little more predictable, where now they've got Aiden on the left, on the right, at the second level, and coverage. I mean, they talked about doing a bunch of different things with him. So we kind of assume it might be that way for everybody. Everybody's kind of playing to their strengths a little bit. Yeah,
playing to your strengths, playing to your personnel. They asking big, strong people to do what big, strong people do, and what more can you ask? Is a big, strong.
I like
person.
that.
Yeah, there you go. You mentioned the reshaping your body and doing what big, strong dudes do. What are you weighing now, and how do you feel physically? Because again, Coach Harbaugh mentioned like it was very noticeable when you walked in that you had changed some things up.
Yeah, I'm 320. I weighed in today at 322.
Okay.
I hadn't been 322 since I lost all that weight. So since like 2 years ago, 3, and I feel a lot better. Like me being 340 and going from 340 to 290.
That's
and
a
like,
lot of weight, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I thought I felt great then, but then with the new change, I could change my eating habits. So my eating habits are like a little bit more free, because I'm locked in on my diet. I'm a guy I take nutrition really serious, and that's why I'm always on Abigail's heels. So whatever she told me to do, I did. But now she opened it up a little bit for me, and I'm running faster, running longer. My wind, like everything has increased. Everything, strength, everything. And most times,
I was just gonna say I might have to get her number from you after we hop off of this podcast, because everything you're saying sounds great to me. I'm loving what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but Chris, we're 37, not 19 or 20. I don't know, Mazi, you're probably 19 or 20 at this point, maybe 21. Oh man, yeah. So it's a little different animal for us. No, but that's again, people excited hearing your name. It's. I know you don't want to give too much away, but we keep hearing about Coach Mike McDonald and his energy and just kind of real smart guy, but he's never called a defense before. I wonder, how with Don Brown, that's a dude, like, he could roll out of bed and call a game. Like, he's been doing it for so long. That's his whole everything. I just wonder, as a younger guy, Coach McDonald, how you guys are bonding with him, vibing with him. Like, what kind of confidence level do you have in a guy like that?
The utmost. I sit in his room sometimes and just talk with him about what we got going on, whether it be installs or, how to play certain things. And a couple other coaches, I talk to that they just frame it differently. And that's really all you can ask. It ain't – it's a right way. And the coaches have really been hammering that in. Coach Mack coming from the NFL, and – I know Coach Harbaugh said how highly of a recommended guy he was. He got in here and it was rolling and understood how to not only how to come up with a defense, but how to implement it and get us to do it. So, and he's gonna be a great coach.
And I had one more quick question about the coaching staff, Chris, if you got a minute here.
Yeah.
Coach Nua was the only holdover from the defensive staff last year, and obviously that's your position coach on the D-line. Yeah. I just wonder, I've talked to Coach Nua quite a few times in some different settings. I love his energy. He's a big old dude. He's happy. He's always seems to be always having fun. But I wonder, behind closed doors a little bit, what kind of a coach is he? How do you feel about him being back when everybody else on the defense is trying to, figure it out with a new guy and trying to rebuild some things? You have a little bit of continuity with Coach Nua being back.
Yeah, Coach Nua just really wants us all to be great. And, his coaching style is hands-on and with a lot of love. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to see us do great things. And he wants us to see it done the right way because he knows our capabilities. And with Coach Nua, he's a guy that's always been in my corner. You know what I mean? And I know I go to him for anything, and that's really who you play hard for,
Yeah, and so we've obviously talked a little bit about the coaching staff. New as a guy who's been there for a little while, but a lot of these guys are there for the first time. We heard guys like Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Ross talk a little bit about the culture at Michigan in years past, and specifically I think somebody pointed to 2018 and 2019, and that it just kind of felt like a change. A culture change or a shock to the culture was needed. And that's kind of been a consistent theme from everybody that we've talked to, that this year just feels a little bit different. So I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about the vibe or, the energy that you guys have right now as a team and why it feels different this year than from years prior?
The coaches' attention to detail. Not saying the last coaches and Coach Brown's staff weren't attentive to detail, but it's different types of details now, because it's a different scheme. So it's different things that you got to focus on. So just really hashing that out with our coaches and figuring that out and understanding what to do, how to do it. It's a clear-cut way every time. And, when it's 100% thing, it's like, how to do it, You know what I mean? So I got faith. I got faith in what we're doing, and I got faith in the coaches and the new guys and where they coming from. But a lot of the culture change, I feel like it's been coming from our leaders, like Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Ross. You know, those are big time guys, and those are guys who played a lot of football. And you follow the leader. You know what I mean? You follow your leaders, and that's what I got for that one.
Yeah. So I mean, you're entering your third season. Does it? We've heard it from almost everybody we've spoken to. Does it feel different? Is there something about this group and this team that feels different from the first 2 years you were there?
Yeah, for sure. I think coming back from COVID,
it's kind of natural. I mean, yeah.
Us being away from each other for so long and us not being able to be around each other in this capacity, I think it definitely has had something to do with the bonding on our team and the tightness of our team. And that's what wins games. Playing hard for the people next to you that you trained with and worked out for all those moments with, you know what I mean, practice with, went through adversity with. You know, that's what wins games.
You mentioned Aiden, you mentioned Josh Ross, a couple, veteran guys, senior guys, also in-state guys. So some Michigan guys there holding it down for the home state. And we talked a little. That's right. We talked a little bit about what you kind of claim as your hometown city, where you were born versus where you grew up a little bit. Then you moved out to the west side, and I just wonder, like, how much of a sense of pride is there in that you've got some leaders on the team that are in-state guys? You might be stepping into a bigger role this year. I saw recently Jalen Mayfield got Grand Rapids tattooed on his arm. I heard Devin Booker talking about Grand Rapids during the finals. It just seems like, and I know that's everywhere, everybody wants to represent their home state, but you've got some key guys in the defense. You could end up being one of them, and Josh Ross and Aiden Hutchinson all being from the state. How big of a deal is that for you guys?
It's a real big deal. And I haven't really put all that together, but now that you said, like, guys holding down the maize and blue, like, it don't get no better than that. During recruiting, everybody say, the thing that they would say is the best in Michigan go to Michigan. So, it's looking like that's what happened.
There you go.
Yeah. So I guess no conversation with a Michigan football player is complete without talking about Ohio State, unfortunately. And that became apparent, at Big Ten Media Days. I mean, I think the guys that were sent out there spent a significant amount of time talking about the rivalry, talking about the preparation for it. And, you do get the sense that there's something different, this year going into this season that, I don't know if somebody wants to say you're taking it more seriously or you're just looking at the rivalry in a different light. From the outside looking in, we have seen, like the signs in the weight room that say, what are you doing today to beat Ohio State? Can you kind of talk a little bit about, why has there been a shift in the focus on Ohio State, and what are some of the other things you guys are doing to prepare for them on a daily basis?
Yeah. Ever since I've been there, it's been an emphasis on them. It's the best rivalry in sports, and that's the game that we have. That's the game that we have to win. And I haven't personally played in that. I haven't had. I've been here 2 years. I ain't played in that game yet. I'm really excited to play in this game this upcoming year, and the things that we've been doing personally, like, it's about preparation. It's about your preparation. It's about how you handle adversity, because those are the things that show when you touch that field. You have to show who you are. So it's about being that person that you are striving to be every day. And Coach Herb talk about it all the time. Consistency is key. So being consistent in your workouts, being consistent in your conditioning, your extra work. You know what I mean? Whether it's walkthrough, team player, anything. And that at the end of the day, trying to win everything. So
I think it was quarterback Cade McNamara who said, he sees a difference in Jim Harbaugh this year and how he's approaching the season, from I guess in years past. Is that something that the rest of the team is picking up on as well? Like when we've ran into him at several different events, and when we saw him at Big Ten Media Days, man, he was sharp, he was on point, he just looked like he was ready to get going. Do you guys get a sense that maybe there's a different level of motivation or a renewed focus from him as well?
Coach Harbaugh been focused since I've been there. I don't know a time where Coach hasn't been focused on that or hasn't taken that very seriously. You know what I mean? He's a winning guy. He wants to win. So as far as, what K's saying, he probably talks to Coach Harbaugh a whole lot more because, quarterback coach.
Yeah.
Me seeing Coach Harbaugh, it's just want to win. But it's something that's always been there. So, I mean, when you ask me personally if I seen a change, I wouldn't know. We've always wanted to win that game. And we've always been striving for it. And we continue to do that.
Well, I'm going to ask. It's not the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, but it's the Wisconsin-Michigan rivalry. And before we started going live here, I asked you about your boy, Logan Brown, back from the high school days, and Michigan was recruiting him and you at the same time. And I got a chance to talk to both of you back then. I just find that I always find those things really cool. And I hadn't thought about it this way, but you said we went on a lot of recruiting visits together. When you spend that much time with somebody, you can't help but bond on some levels, even if you weren't that close before that. But I just wonder, I asked you how often are you talking with him? There's a chance maybe you guys go helmet to helmet this fall. He plays on the edge maybe a little bit more than you do, but maybe you got a little twist or a stunt coming. Who knows? Yeah. But I just wonder. How often are you talking to Logan? What's that like? He's at a place like Wisconsin. You're at a place like Michigan. Both of you guys from East Kentwood. Just that whole dynamic. It must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. And I talk to him all the time. Like, maybe not as much as I would want, but we always check in and see how each other's doing. That's still, that's my brother. And I told him last time I talked to him, I said, man, I hope I play over you, man. That would be like old times.
You mentioned those old times. What was that like back in high school? I mean, you're talking about two high school kids that are both north of 300 pounds probably back then. And, I mean, two of the better players in the entire state at the time. I imagine there had to be pretty big battles in practice.
The lowest man win.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, you had him there. I was going to say you had him there.
Lowest man win.
If I'm not mistaken, you guys played next to each other on the O-line though too, right? Like, so you were and on defense too, same thing. He played defense a little bit, right?
A
little bit, yeah. All right, so was there a better offensive line duo in the state back then? Come on now, that's pretty crazy. You got Mazi
offensive guard.
You got Mazi at the guard. You got Logan Brown at tackle. That's pretty formidable.
Solid.
Wisconsin.
Solid.
I want to ask though. Wisconsin's had Michigan's number a little bit over the last couple of years. They're a very sound team. They don't make a lot of mistakes. Very well coached, and you guys have to go there this year. It's not the rivalry that Michigan-Ohio State is, but that's another big game that Michigan fans want to see Michigan win. I mean, I know it's down the road, but you got a good friend there. What kind of reflections have you had on those games with Wisconsin where they've been pretty good over the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's always great to play good teams. That's really all I gotta say about it. We want to play the best, and that's really it. We want to compete with the best. I want to compete with the best. So. And they got a great O-line over there.
Yeah, they do. That's what they hang their hat on for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Brandon, do you want to go? Are there questions that are out there, or do you want to switch to that, or where do you want to go?
Yeah, there's a couple. A lot of it's just kind of showing them love. Go blue, go Mazi. It's your time to shine. All sorts of stuff like that. But I did want to ask this one, Mazi. You may not know, but I'm curious about it too myself. I'll throw the question up there if you can see it. People want to know how big Chris Hinton is. Your other guy, your other classmate, your position mate. Do you happen to know if he reshaped a little bit like you have as well?
Chris, he came in ready to play.
Yeah, he's a big dude, man. He was ready.
That's why he's a 5-star. You know what I mean? He came in ready to play. He always been a big dude. You know what I mean?
So there's that one. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions. We'll throw a little East Kentwood love up there. I'm sure Mazi will appreciate that.
and Mom might be in here, so if you want to give a shout out to Mom, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah. Well, mom is my everything.
Mom's probably out there watching too. Yeah. I guess I had one final question, Chris, before we get to some of those fun ones that you had towards the end. And Mazi, you may not have a lot to go on yet, but Jordan Whitley transferred in, another defensive tackle guy. I just wonder, again, we're not going to get into the scheme stuff too much, but have you had a chance to, be around him a lot? Like what should Michigan fans expect from him, and what kind of a guy and player is he so far?
That's my guy, man. And me and him, he's one of my good friends now. I'm really happy to have him here. And He older, so he know a little bit. He didn't play a lot of football, so he know a little bit. So I just hope to learn from him. You know what I mean? And seeing how he's worked, he works he works very hard. Getting ready to play. So as far as what Michigan fans should expect, another Michigan man out there on the field putting it on.
And he's a big fella. We've heard about him coming in and being yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's another low man can win right there, the way he's put together. I know that. So no, that's
there you go.
All right, Chris, what you got for him?
All right, Mazi, before we get you out of here, man, we're gonna try to put you on the spot here. We want people to get to know the real Mazi Smith here, like the guy behind the scenes. And so I want to know, what is your guilty pleasure song or music artist? So this is either a song or a music artist that you don't mind, but you definitely don't want your boys in the car when you're listening to it. Everybody's got one, so no answer is not acceptable.
Dang, I forget his name. He a big country singer though.
Oh, country. Okay.
Cade showed me that. You know what I mean? He showed me.
Okay. So Cade's putting you on to country.
Look, 2 songs. 2.
Okay. Man, we gotta get it. We gotta know what those songs are.
Hold on,
I don't know.
Let me go on my Spotify. Y'all
I don't know. I actually don't know country music hardly at all. I was gonna try to throw some names out there, but Luke Bryan, he's popular right now. I don't know.
Luke Combs.
Luke Combs,
okay. Yeah, the big dude. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't listen to country enough for that, but I had a couple of days where it was just a lot of country, man. I was really chilling.
All right, so if you see Mazi rolling around Ann Arbor blaring some Luke Combs, don't be surprised, right?
Yeah,
this is the stuff we're after. The last show. What's the last show you binge watched?
Black Summer. It's a zombie show. I finished The Walking Dead.
I got it.
I'm waiting for them to come off some new stuff. Might as well see some other zombie stuff.
So you're the zombie guy, the apocalypse guy. You get into all that.
I like to think I'll survive a long time.
Hey.
Brandon and I have talked about this. We both grew up in the country, so we've talked about if the apocalypse happens, we feel like we got just enough redneck in us to where we could make it through the zombie apocalypse. So.
Yeah. Maybe so. I don't know, man. You're talking about Mazi going 6'3", 322. He'd
do all right.
He'd be all right.
He'll do all right. All right. Last question for you, Mazi.
Yeah.
When was the last time you dressed up for Halloween, and what were you?
Man, listen. Okay, y'all really gonna get to know me on this one. Okay, so I think the last time I dressed up for Halloween was in the 4th or 5th grade.
And a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm a big guy. Can't just be showing up at people's houses. I was like 6'3" in the 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. But I was a Star Wars character. I was a clone. I'm a big Star Wars fan, the biggest Star Wars fan you ever meet.
Oh wow! Okay,
okay.
So that's interesting. So that leads to another question. When we had JJ on, we asked him, what's more likely to be real, aliens or Bigfoot? So I'm guessing, you being the Star Wars guy you're in, is it safe to say you lean towards aliens?
They out there. Come on, man.
They're out there.
We're not the only life in this big old universe. It will make no sense.
Yeah, we got some deep guys coming through, man. JJ had a deep answer too.
Yeah.
That's so funny, man. Mazi, it has been a pleasure, man. Again, thank you for the time. Best of luck this season.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you got a lot of people here pulling for you and expecting big things, and excited to see you on the field. So, fun questions at the end to close it out there, but some really good stuff there too, man. I appreciate the time a lot.
Appreciate you guys too.
Appreciate it, Mazi. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Take care, Mazi. All right, man. That is another success. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I remember when I covered him in high school, and he's always been kind of a, like I said to him, deeper. There was more to him than just football. It wasn't all about, I'm just out here to play football. That's all I care about. This, that. He he's got some different things that he's into. I'm not surprised in the least that he's a Star Wars guy and that he's big into, the country music threw me a little bit, but again, I'm not surprised with a guy like that. I know, like I said, I knew a little bit about him coming in, which is always cool. I think I don't remember if I said this on the broadcast or before we started, but big family dude. I was trying to get an interview with him back in the day, and there was like 40 people at his game waiting to talk to him up in the stands. They came down to the field. So it's been cool knowing him. And again, expectations were pretty high for him when he got to Michigan, and Michigan was thin at defensive tackle and could have used some help there. And he was a name we heard about really early on. And then again, it just didn't really come to fruition yet. And you'll see that. I mean, defensive tackle is a tough position to play as a freshman. I mean,
it's a tough position to play, and then you come out of your freshman year and you go into a global pandemic year, right? Yep. So you almost kind of feel for guys who have gotten caught up in that, because I'm sure, there's no being sure about it. Your traditional pathway to whatever you're going to become on the football field, there's obviously a wrench that was thrown in that during last year. So, I think he's a guy that everybody's pulling for, and from everything we heard at Big Ten Media Days, he's ready to take that next step. We'll just like anything else, we'll have to see it on Fall Saturdays. But man, I'm certainly rooting for him.
Yep, no doubt about it. I had to make a wardrobe change, man. I was getting sweaty sitting in here. It's usually cold down in my basement, but I was getting a little warm.
You don't want to take the top off on camera?
Yeah, it would have been awkward. I almost forgot to take my headset off. I'd have been pulling that over. I'd have been having cords and stuff hanging. No, I just figured I'd blow you up real quick, and then I'll come back.
That gets me every time you do that, right? That gets
I know
me
there's no warning. It just happens. But man, dude, we asked Mazi beforehand, is there anything that's off limits? We're not trying to trap you. We don't want to put you in a spot where you're going to say something you don't want to, or ask a question that he doesn't even want to address. And he said, keep it a little quiet on what the defense is doing. Don't want to get into too many specifics, and we'll obviously respect that. But it just adds to what we've already said and where I've been at all off season. I'm so anxious to see it. I'm so anxious to see what that defense looks like. When you start to hear about what Jim Harbaugh was saying about Aiden Hutchinson, how he might be here or there or in the back or in the middle or in pass coverage, or now he's blitzing, or now he's, he just didn't do that before. And then you talk about a guy like Mazi, who's now 322. You start to say 322 versus 295. Yeah. And now you've got a guy who can play right over the center, and who can eat two gaps. And if Chris Hinton is, a little bit bigger and stronger than he was when he came in, I think he was 305 as a freshman. So maybe he's in that 320 range now. Yeah. And then you've got Whitley, who's, probably north of 330 or 340. You start to really get intrigued by what that defense could look like and how multiple it could be. So just more good stuff from him, man. That was awesome.
It was awesome. And we talked about how, the quarterback competition was probably going to be the most intriguing thing, about this team. And I think it is, but you listen to these guys talk about the defense, and obviously, nobody's going to come out and say bad things about what they're trying to do, but there is a level of excitement about this new defensive scheme. And, in terms of how unpredictable it is, how guys are going to be moving around. I can't wait to see what this thing looks like on week one. And it seems like, these guys are just chomping at the bit, excited to get out there and show it, because they think they've got something special. And I think that was apparent listening to Josh Ross. That was apparent listening to Aiden Hutchinson. And even with Mazi, you could tell when he started talking about the defense, he get that little bit of a smirk, and it's like you got a Ferrari in the garage and you're just waiting to push the button and have the door open up and show everybody what it looks like. And, I think we're all excited to see it.
Let me ask you this question though, because I think it's only fair to ask it. The preseason and media day and things like that are always filled with good for the most part. I mean, never in the history of a media day has a player been like, we're so out of shape, we just blow. Right. I mean, they're never going to say that. I do feel that things felt a little more juiced than I maybe would have expected, or maybe have seen in the past. I don't know. Maybe it was just the guys that were there. Again, Aiden Hutchinson, Josh Ross, pretty passionate guys, senior guys. They've been through it. They know how to talk and speak. Harbaugh was obviously pretty geeked up, and Hassan Haskins was kind of what I expected. He's not real long-winded. He's not real rah-rah guy. He even said that about himself. But I say all that to ask you, I don't know if you want to put a ranking on it, or a percentage, or a chance, or odds, or whatever, but how much do you believe that was just, it's what you get during the preseason, during media, and how much do you think it's we're going to see something different, and this team's going to be a lot better than most think.
I know.
Where do you fall on that, man? Where do you or what would it take for you to be like, more talk? I'm over it. Like this is, where are you at with that?
Well, so we talked about this a little bit on our trip, and I said categorically that if the season, if this thing doesn't look special, and if this, if there's not a, you talk about identity, an offensive identity, a defensive identity, and looking like these guys are coached up and ready to play Big Ten football, which, to be honest, they didn't always look like that last year. And there's been times when this program just, they've got all the talent in the world, but the development, the schemes, like something just feels off. And, you listen to them talk at Big Ten media days, and yeah, people are going to say good things, but they don't have to go to the extent that these guys went. And so if we don't see something that looks really, really good this year, I told you I'm done. Like I'm done with the preseason, not done with Michigan, but like just the preseason talk about, or letting yourself kind of get wrapped up into like, well, this thing sounds like it might be good and different. Like I feel that right now. These guys seem very passionate about it. They seem bought in. They talked about how the culture had a little, there were some issues there, and that it seems like it's much better now. And so, long story short, I'm buying what they're selling, but I am I'm at a point right now where it's like if I don't see it on the field, like I will become fully jaded at that point.
What would be, and I think we may have talked about this before, but maybe hearing the guys talk, and now that we've had a couple players come on and speak directly to us, since then, what would be like a score range that you'd be? Let me ask it this way: what would be a score range against Western Michigan that you would be like, damn it, really? Like, is this really where they're at? Then the next notch is like, okay, first game coming off COVID, we'll take it, and then high side, like whoa, like they're ready. We're like, so 3 levels. One level of, and I'm assuming it's a win. Good God, if they lose, like we don't even need to talk about that. But a level of win that you're like, damn, like. Really, after all that, versus like, okay, cool, first game, jitters, stadium, backpack, whatever, trying to figure it out, and then like blown away. So give me a little bit of a range through there.
So here's the number I'm at. If it's less than 21, if they win, but it's less than 21, then I'm going to be. I just, if you look at the way Alabama goes out in a week 1 game, or a Clemson goes out in a week 1 game, or Ohio State goes out in a week 1 game, and those programs typically handle business. Like there's no question about where they're at. By the time they enter week 1, it's not, forget about preseason jitters and all of that crap. By the time the clock hits 0, they've taken care of business. And that's what I expect to see from Michigan. So up against a program at home like Western Michigan, I would say, 3 touchdown easy. If they're north of 3 touchdowns, I feel good about it. If they're under 3 touchdowns, I don't know that I'm concerned, but I'm just like my confidence level heading into week 2 against Washington, is maybe not as good as it should be. Yeah.
So you think like, I'm kind of with you. Like if it's like 10 or less, I'm thinking like, oh my, what happened? What happened all off season? How could they be saying what they were saying? And then that's what you get. If it's like, 2 scores, 10, 13, 14 points to like, 20. Okay. That's what I expect a Michigan to do to any MAC school. I don't really care, honestly. Right. And then if it's 21 or more, I'd be like, all right, them boys are ready. I believe what they were saying. And now I'd have to think that Washington would see that and be like, well, we really got to strap it up. I mean, I'm sure they're going to feel that way anyway, but that's kind of where I'm at. I think that's kind of the range, like 10 or less. I'm quite concerned. Yeah. More than 10 to about 20, 10 to 20 point win. That's about the baseline. I'm not going to be real high or real low off of that. And a 3-score, 20, 30, 40 point win, which is not unheard of against a MAC school. Yeah. Like that would be really good. That would be really encouraging, really promising. And of course, how it looks. Like, how did they get there? What did the quarterback do? What did that defense look like? What kind of things did they show? What was the energy like in the stadium again? Like that'll all play in. But that's kind of the point range I'm at. 10 or less, 10 to 20, 20 or more. That kind of puts me in three different moods.
Yeah, and that's a great point because 21-point win is good, but if there's busted coverage, if you're getting questionable plays out of the quarterback position, questionable decision making, what are the turnovers looking like?
Mm-hmm.
What's the running back rotation look like? Are they still cycling through three backs? Does it seem like they've settled on a 1-2 punch with Donovan Edwards sort of filling in? So within that that points discussion, it's how every position group on the field, like, you're going to be looking at everything, trying to dissect it and say, how do those guys get from point A to point B? But I think generally speaking, if you win by 3 touchdowns, you feel all right heading into the next week. But it's a big game. That week 2 game, we keep going back to it, and you just hope that Michigan comes out in 2021 and that the product on the field matches the preseason talk we've heard.
I want to ask you about this too, because this is and I'm sure we've addressed it on some levels before. The whole, and I totally respect Mazi for not wanting to say anything, and I'm sure the players have kind of been told, like, look, don't go running your mouth out there about what we're doing. Nobody wants that. Jim Harbaugh and his programs have always been even more tight-lipped than most, so that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. Of course, I would love to learn more and see more and come to practice once in a while, even if it's just the beginning level stuff. But I wonder where you kind of fall on how big of a deal is that, like the keeping secrets thing. Like you can't know what we're gonna do. We don't want to let you see, because I think, like, first of all, everybody's going to see it week 1 against Western. So I don't really know, like, what you're, that, like, Michigan should roll out of bed and win that game. So, like, if you're keeping things a secret for the Washington game, like, you're really not, because they're going to see it. They're going to see it week 1. If Michigan had that game week 1, I would be much more on board with the whole let's keep things under wraps a little bit. But I've always kind of been like, dude, if you got good players and you've coached them up and everybody knows what they're doing, like, who cares? Yeah. Like, if you're doing things right and you're executing and everybody's on the same page and you're not making mistakes and you've got good players, like, you're going to do fine. So I don't know. I just, again, that's not for Mazi Smith to decide whether or not he's going to talk about the scheme and what's going on. But I mean, just kind of football in general and the way the coaches kind of do that thing.
Yeah, it's weird because I almost think it puts, I don't know if unnecessary pressure is the right way to put it. To me, like, the secrecy makes people on the outside looking in, like, think, what, like, wow, that must really be something special. Like, they're keeping it under wraps. Like, it's almost like, like we talked, or
the opposite,
right? But I haven't.
We don't want anyone to see it.
But I haven't gotten that vibe. The way that they speak about it, it's because it's something special, and they're going to be doing things that they haven't done before, and that they're going to be eating like they haven't ate before. And I think that when you hear those things, right? Because they don't talk about the excitement level or how, I guess, how productive they think the defense is going to be. They just won't get into the specifics. And so from the outside looking in, I think there are high expectations for this defense just based on what some of the preseason chatter has been. And you hope that the defense, there's obviously going to be some things to work through in week 1, but you're a program like Michigan, you're a Power 5 program like Michigan. There is no excuse for coming out week 1 looking like you don't know what you're doing or kind of being all over the place. Like, they've talked up this defense, or they've kind of built the excitement around this defense. They need to come out week 1 and look like they know what they're doing, and really send a message for that week 2 game and set the tone for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I think it's interesting. It is an interesting topic and concept. I mean, I know we talked about it before, because one of the things it was during the spring game that we maybe last visited something like this, where we said, like, Ohio State doesn't seem to care that they're being watched on TV, and Alabama and Clemson and some of the big time schools. So it's I that's kind of where I fall. Like I said, if you've got good players and you've got them prepared and everybody knows what they're doing, it won't matter. Like, things will work if they're schemed correctly, designed correctly, and executed correctly. So that's kind of where I fall on that. But I do, again, that's not because Mazi didn't want to talk about it. That's not for him.
It's true, right? Though, like, based on everything you've heard, I would imagine whatever level of excitement you would have had for this defense anyway, like, each time you hear one of these guys talk about it, it's like, it just builds a little bit to it's. You're like, right. Okay, now I really, really need to see this thing.
You're right, because if they come out against Washington in week 2 and lose, like, really in any fashion. But I mean, if Washington's offense is making big plays and like, you know,
we see what happened against Michigan State last year, something like that. Yeah.
The score gets away from them even a little bit where it's not just like a, you know, a nail biter. I mean, I know what I'm going to be writing about after that.
What happened?
What happened? It was all talk. None of it mattered. What, you know, take your pick. Yeah. But on the flip side, you know, if it looks pretty special and they're getting pressure and they're creating turnovers and it's fast and flying around, and I'll have a ton of optimism moving forward. And that, you know, that 7-5 that I'm sitting on right now will certainly change. But
I'm not drinking it yet. But the Kool-Aid packets are in the cupboard. You know, they're there.
You're shaking them.
They're ready.
Are you shaking them yet?
No, they're still, you know, they're still in the packaging. But I've purchased them. I've bought them, and they're within reaching distance. So
got the sugar open. You got the pitcher out.
Oh, always. Man. Okay. That old school pitcher that I think everybody had when they were a kid, you know, with like the orange plastic top on it, you know, those old school Tupperware type.
You're talking about the one that you got to turn to get the spout in the right spot.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that one, dude. Yeah. Everybody's got that one. I think mine was a maroon top though, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Specifically made for Kool-Aid. So
yeah. No, man, I just, you know, we talked to JJ. Chances are we're not going to see a ton of him this year, but I still found myself, you know, getting a little bit amped up what he was saying, and just the fact that it's getting closer. Now we're about 10 days away from the start of camp, 10, 11 days, something like that. And now, you know, we talked to a guy like Mazi who might be on the field a lot and making plays and, you know, really stepping into a bigger role. And I find my notch is just going to keep going up. And you know, but I don't know. I have a lot of curiosity when it comes to Alan Bowman, who we'll talk to on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what my notches do with him, because I just have a lot to ask him. I don't know if he's going to end up being the guy. And then when we get Blake Corum, I think the same thing. I've just been really high on him. I know you certainly are. And it's just fun, man. It's fun. This stuff is fun. I hope everybody out there watching is enjoying it as much as we are. And, you know, I don't know, man. It might even be cooler. The 15 or 20 minutes we talk to the guys before we go live might be even cooler than when we actually go live. But no, man, this has been really cool, and getting these guys on has been exciting. And I've just been both really impressed with both JJ and Mazi, you know, sitting down and talking to them with just a couple of minutes of like, here's what we're going to do, this is what we're going to say, and we're live. And they just, I don't know, man, they jump right into it and handled it like pros, even though neither of them have had, I don't think Mazi's had a media appearance yet either at Michigan.
We should have asked him about that. But yeah, I mean, we've said it before. I wasn't that mature at 18, 19, 20 years old. You know what I mean? So it's really just a testament to like who these guys are as people. Like they are already professionals in what they do. And even though they're young, they've got a good outlook on life, I think. Was it before we went live? I think when Mazi was like, the money is the root of all evil, man. You just gotta, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what is this guy, 50 years old? We were talking about the NIL stuff, and you know, and we should have asked him about that, because I thought he gave a really, you know, a really interesting answer coming from a really good perspective that, you know, he just sort of like, he thinks is cool, and if it puts money in his pocket, you know, awesome, but his focus is not there. He said, you know, his plan to get rich is, you know, the 3 years he's going to spend 3 or 4 years at Michigan, you know, trying to get to the next level. And so he's locked in, he's focused on his goals. And I just thought that, like, even that, man, like, that's such a mature way to like look at things. And you can't have enough guys like that. And especially if he's taken his cues from, you know, the guys like Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Ross, which is what he indicated, that he's you know, whatever those guys are doing, that's just what I'm doing. And that's how I'm getting better. You can't have enough of those guys on your team.
Yeah. JJ was in a similar, you know, kind of a similar thought process with the NIL stuff. And, you know, it is going to be really big for some, but it's not going to be that big for many. I mean, even if Mazi was like an every down starting every single play, like, you know, offensive linemen, we talked about it, interior defensive linemen, those aren't going to be the guys that get rich off of this with jersey sales or branding or big time commercial opportunities or anything. It's not designed the same way for everybody, you know, like there's no defensive tackles in the NFL with like a signature shoe. Like, it's just not, it's not a thing. So I think that's part of it. I mean, if JJ McCarthy becomes the the starter as a sophomore or whatever, or even in his third year, and he's lighting up scoreboards, like that's going to be a pretty marketable dude.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if any defensive tackle can ever really get to that. Like Mo Hurst was a stud. You know, he wasn't going to be a get rich guy off of NIL.
Yeah,
It's just not really going to happen.
We said the same thing about like the offensive line, like these guys that are like, you know, they play such a critical role on the team. But you know how it is, like skill position, like there's certain guys, certain positions that are more marketable than others. And that's just the way it works. Like if you look at jersey sales in the NFL, if you look at what teams are putting out for you to purchase, like it's not like the whole team. There's like a few guys that are really going to be marketable. And so I really thought that was interesting listening to him talk about like, look, my focus is on getting to the next league. Like that's my get rich quick scheme is busting my ass while I'm here at Michigan and getting to the next level. And so just good to hear. Good to hear.
Another thing that he said in there was the fact that when he said like money is the root of all evil and like that's not really my main goal, was that he's like, you know, there's something to being broke and like not having money. He's like, that will push you, that will drive you, that will keep you hungry. Yeah. And I thought that was awesome too. I mean, you know, he understands where he came from and what he's working for. And if suddenly you're in college and you're making a bunch of money, like Bryce Young at Alabama, if he really is nearing seven figures like Nick Saban said, or if that was just a big recruiting ploy to throw it out there, you know, we'll probably never know for sure. But I liked Mazi's disposition on the whole thing and kind of how he thought about it and how he went about it. And again, you know, if that does drive him and push him to be, you know, a standout this year, then more power to him, man. Find it wherever you can find it. But been a pretty consistent answer from Michigan players when it comes to NIL. I think that speaks to, you know, look, none of them are going to turn down money, but at the same time, I think they do realize that that's not really why they came to school. I mean, it wasn't even a thing when they did come, but that's still not really why they're there. JJ mentioned, I'm here to win football games. I'm not here to make money. But you know, it's part of it now. And, you know, when some guys are going to be making a lot, it's going to change some things. Mazi said, he's like, it's going to be a big distraction for some people, but it's just not going to be for me. So just another, you're right. Damn it. Why did we ask him about that when we were on? It wasn't part of our outline, and I deviated a little bit here and there, but
damn it. I'll hit him up again. We'll pull him back in.
Anyway,
I mean, it was just, I think a lot of people, you know, a lot of fans who were sort of turned off to the idea or uncomfortable with the idea of the NIL stuff going through and what it's going to do to college athletics. I think his mentality on it is exactly what those people want to hear. It's a guy who's like, yeah, if I get something out of it, cool, but I'm not, you know, that is not my focus. Like, I'm not trying to create a clothing company. I'm not trying to, like, my business is on the football field, and that's where I'm going to make my money eventually. So just a really good outlook.
Well, we'll see what happens with him, man. Maybe he'll get 3 sacks against Washington, and we got to have him back on right after that game. So we can hope for that. Well, I think we'll wrap it up, man. We just went live yesterday, so a lot of the topics we've, you know, all the recap from the Big Ten Media Days, and we went kind of position by position almost on the roster. Kind of covered that yesterday, so I think we're good. I'm good if you're good. We'll come back on Wednesday with Alan Bowman, and we will see what other topics we have to discuss on that day. So really appreciate everybody coming out, listening to Mazi Smith. Big thanks to him for giving us the time. And we'll be back on Wednesday night with Texas Tech transfer quarterback Alan Bowman. Thanks for listening, everybody.